Day 2, Stage 1 of the Santos Tour Down Under after yesterday's very short 3.6 kilometre prologue. Winner there was that man in the ochre jersey, Sam Watson. In the blue jersey, Ethan Vernon sitting in second place, so two Brits on top of the general classification standings going into the opening road stage. This stage, a tried and tested 10 under stage, one which has been with the race since its very first edition in 1999, this being yet another edition which includes this 10 under circuit, making its way up onto the northern edge of the Adelaide Hills to take in 3 ascents of Mangler's Hill. Not too bad by itself, but when you combine all 3 of the ascents of it, a slightly attritional nature, just to keep the sprint teams working hard before the descent back into 10 under. The flag was waved and the first rider to attack was Martin Urienstad, the Norwegian for Uno X Mobility. Problem is, there was an early intermediate sprint point today, the first one of the race at Lindok, which came after only 10 kilometres. Guillaume Martin, surprisingly to some, attacked and went across to Martin Urienstad, the Groupama FDG man, getting across and immediately going to the front to work hard with him as well. Others would follow, including Marco Brenner, so 2 strong climbers in the company of a strong rouleur, Martin Urienstad, and actually the first breakaway of the race was looking really good. Problem is, UAE Team Emirates saw the threat, particularly of Brenner and Guillaume Martin in the breakaway, and decided to bring it back, and they were bringing it back of course because they wanted Jonathan Narvaez to take the first intermediate sprint. And look at this is how you do it, even with the ochre jersey right there. Juan Sebastian Milano leading out Jonathan Narvaez, and the Ecuadorian road race champion getting the first bonus seconds of the race. Now once that was out of the way, in Lindok, Martin Urienstad decided to go at it again, as you were if you like. Question is, would Guillaume Martin try and come across to him? Well, it wasn't too long before we saw the answer. Yes, he did, only this time he brought support in the shape of his countryman and teammate Enzo Paleni, making 3 up front. It looked, as the day went on, like this was to be the breakaway that would stick, except there was one more rider who desperately tried to get across to them. Matthew Greenwood, the 22-year-old Australian on the Aussie national team, tried for an awfully long time to get across to those 2, but was unable to. First of 2 crashes today as well, as riders settle back into the World Tour peloton at the beginning of the year. One of the Bahrain victorious riders down there as well. Do wish any of the riders involved in crashes today the very best. This was the first of the FX King of the Mountains, first passage of Mangler's Hill as well, and Martin Urienstad obviously setting about trying to take that King of the Mountains jersey today. Very impressive ride was being done by Tim Rex on the front, the youngster for Visma Lease bike, and behind him the entirety of the Ineos Grenadiers team, partly looking after the ochre jersey of Sam Watson, but then also, of course, thinking about trying to get the win in 10 under again, and for the 3rd year in a row for Sam Welsford. Question on everyone's lips, could Welsford do it in the colours of his new team, Ineos Grenadiers? There he was, right in the middle of the shot, in the cream and orange jersey of Ineos Grenadiers. Back to the sprint point again, this time in Angaston. And it was Guillaume Martin taking the second and final of the bonus seconds. He waved goodbye to the breakaway. Enzo Paleni then knew his job would be about trying to survive as deep as possible. Martin Urienstad took the final King of the Mountains points, and as soon as he'd done so, Enzo Paleni, the Frenchman on the Groupama FDG team, headed off by himself. With 7.3k to go, he was still there, but was being caught. And of course, as soon as he was caught, the sprint teams were already in position. They'd been massing and moving up to get themselves positioned well for the final sprint, this being the most likely of all of the sprint stages too. Coming into the finish, it was XDS Astana who were trying to wind things up, but that was just before Tord Gudmestad of Decathlon CMA CGM set off, and he had Tobias Lund Andreasen in perfect position. Lund Andreasen leading all the way to the line, Welsford up the inside, Matthew Brennan on the outside, but they could not close the gap after that brilliant lead out by Gudmestad, and it was Tobias Lund Andreasen, the Dane, taking the win. Biggest win of his career as well. First World Tour win as well. Question was, as we watched these pictures, would it be enough for him to take the Oka leaders jersey? He got the 10-second time bonus. As we look back to the prologue, we saw he had a 9-second deficit, so just enough. There was the overhead shot. Look at the speed of Matthew Brennan coming there too. Sam Welsford on the inside up against the barriers with nowhere to go. Well, that was the result as it stood. Luke Lamperti just dipping into the top 10 there at the bottom. Very multinational top 10. And a Dane, Tobias Lund Andersen, getting the biggest win of his career so far. Of course, he finds himself in the Oka leaders jersey, and that will have to be defended on day 3, stage 2, in much, much tougher climbing terrain. This is that stage 2 as well, the Norwood to Uradla stage, and it includes a double ascent of the corkscrew climb, and that is what should be doing the difference and making the damage tomorrow. In interviews afterwards, Tobias Lund Andersen admitting that he felt he would lose the jersey on day 3, stage 2. You will have to join us for live coverage tomorrow to find out if that is the case. It certainly should be pretty impactful for the general classification. Join us tomorrow and all week for the Santos Tour Down Under.